I don't like change. This isn't good. I don't like change.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
Who is your daddy?
I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Well, welcome back, Derek. It's been a little while since we've talked.
Uh-huh.
You'd be proud of me. I actually watched a soccer game today. I watched the women's team win the World Cup.
That's not even the most exciting match. Why didn't you watch Brazil?
No, but you know what? To the women's credit, and all my kids pointed this out too, while there is some form of flopping, it's nowhere near to the level of what the men do. Like they at least play a mostly clean game, and they don't do the whole fake injury thing that men do. So
True.
Yeah.
But they don't even know how to pass the ball.
Oh,
So
that is not true.
I'm annoyed watching women because I'm like, they'll make some good plays, but then it'll be like a basic pass. I'm like, who are you passing to? Who are you passing to?
Did you watch the game today? They had some pretty good triangle formations going on, passing the ball. They did a pretty good job.
I didn't get to see most of today's match for the women because I was at church.
Gotcha. Well, the pink-haired player who loves Donald Trump, she got a goal on a penalty kick, which I'm not saying it's easy, but it's also not that hard at that level.
It's not that hard.
And then, but the other goal, because US won 2-0, the other goal, I forget the girl's name, Lavelle or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She had a sweet left-footed goal where she just did this small little move right at the 18, and it was great. It was really good. I was impressed. But whatever.
Still more excited about Brazil winning. That's all I care about.
What did Brazil win?
They won the Copa America.
Oh, okay. All right. What was the Mexico and USA one then?
Gold Cup.
I don't know the difference.
The Gold Cup is like a trash cup. The only two good teams in it, well, I can't even say two good teams. The only good team in it is Mexico.
Got it.
So every matchup that they play in before they meet in the championship is trash teams.
So they pretty much meet every year is what you're saying. It's probably not every year.
Should, but that's not always the case. USA, that's why I said USA's, I wouldn't consider them a good team. I think they're on the rise, but they're not good.
Yeah.
But they played good tonight. They could have easily have tied or at least won that match if Altidore would have done his job. And then there was a couple of shots that I would say Mexico got lucky on where they were.
I didn't see the game, but I saw that Mexico didn't score till the 73rd minute, so it was even the whole way.
Yeah,
but that's interesting. Summertime is so weird for me with sports because I find myself just getting slightly interested in other sports, whether it's international soccer, which I always find international stuff to be interesting, or tennis. Wimbledon's on right now, so I find myself going like, oh, I wonder how Federer's doing. He's Nadal. Those are the names that I know. So I'm curious about the main players. Which, by the way, I listened to a Federer versus Nadal Sports Wars series podcast, and it's fantastic. It's really interesting between those two. But anyway, summertime's weird like that. But once football really starts getting going, once mini camps start opening up later this month, and they start talking about rosters and they start finalizing depth charts and all that, then I'll get really excited about football season. So that's not too far away. So
it's getting closer.
Yeah, it's getting closer. But we haven't talked since E3, and I've played a whole bunch of games since then. I won't necessarily bore you with all of them, but I do want to talk some video game stuff since last we chatted. But before I get into stuff that I've been playing, I want to find out, have you found yourself this summer with any more game time than usual or any more interest in gaming than usual? How's that going for you?
It's probably the same. I mean, I'm playing a little bit more, but not a lot. Like, I'm playing a lot of Rocket League still. Even though I said I was going to retire.
You did say that.
But if I find I'm getting angry, I just get off. Like, if I'm starting to, get mad at my teammates, which earlier today I was, cursing and yelling, and then I was like, you know what, I'm done, and I just got off. And then I came back to it later, and I actually started playing with good teammates. I was playing better and won, 3 or 4 in a row. And because I play ranked. It's when I start dropping in rank is when I start getting mad. I don't mind losing a match. I'm not a baby. It's when I lose 3 or 4 in a row, and even if I have an amazing game and the team or the game keeps dropping me, and I'm like, dude, what else you want me to do?
Yeah. When it
I
says you've been
scored 2
demoted,
goals.
it's like,
We lost 3-2. I scored both the goals, and I can't help it. My teammates don't rotate. Like, what do you want me to do? So I start talking to the game.
it's almost like
I
you're
don't know
playing
if
with
you
the
know this, but
women's national team or something. Am I right?
am I right? They don't even know how to rotate. I'm not sexist, but they don't know how to rotate or pass. But I'm telling you, it's annoying. So I start talking to the game. The game doesn't talk back. Game don't care. It just
No.
keeps leveling me down. Nope, you're trash.
Yeah.
So I jumped back on, and I moved back up into my platinum level. And I was like, yeah, I'm cool being in platinum level because you usually get decent players. Once you drop into any gold level, you get trash. And like, I'm talking guys who just whiff basic balls. And I'm like, come on, bro. Like, come on. But I play on Xbox now a lot. So that could be part of the problem. I do think Xbox is getting at the level of PlayStation, but I did notice when the game first launched on Xbox, PlayStation was clearly superior as far as players.
Yeah, so player superiority was there for a long time. Also, the game just didn't run quite as well on Xbox for a little while there. But
yeah, now it runs fine.
I can't tell the difference between the two now when I jump on either
Well,
one.
they patched it. They 4K patched it. They did it. They cleaned it up. They
nice.
definitely got it running better.
And it's interesting that you mentioned Rocket League because we are almost. Today is July. Say the 6th.
7th.
Today's the 7th. Today. Yeah, we're recording Sunday night, the 7th. Today is the 4-year anniversary of Rocket League being released.
Isn't that crazy? I've been playing that game for 4 years.
4 years. I can't say that about many video games, really. I mean, outside of maybe when I was younger and I only owned 2 and I had to wait till the next Christmas, whatever. We've talked about that before. Mm-hmm. But at least as an adult, I can't think of any other game that has maintained its spot on the rotation. I was actually just playing Rocket League a little bit this week with my son. So
yeah. And for me, it's because it's proof that I do like online multiplayer games.
That's true. That's true.
It's the reason I can't get into like shooters and stuff like that. It's not, oh, you're just bad at it, because I wasn't good at Rocket League when I started. I like team-based games. So if there's like an online shooter that would rely on working with your teammates to make you better, because I've said this before when I talk about Rocket League, I am good. I'm not saying I'm great. I am good individually. Like if I see my teammates suck, I will get in ultra aggressive mode, meaning I'll even cut them off. I don't even care, because I'm like, you're trash, bro. You're probably going to whiff anyways. And I'll try to take over a game, and I can score, and I can make things happen. But I play better if I know I have quality teammates, because I'm more of a team player, meaning I know when to rotate. I'll pass the ball. Like I have good vision as far as passing, and then obviously I know how to shoot. So I like the team aspect of it. But when you're playing with randoms, and I play 99% of the time with randoms, you never know what you're going to get. So I get excited when I get good teammates. I get frustrated when I get bad ones. And again, bad ones aren't, oh my God, I saw you whiff once, so you suck. I'm not that type. I'm more
it's
like
when they're consistently not doing what they're supposed to do. I got you.
Exactly. And the biggest frustration I find with the game still to this day, and I'm talking about the players, not the actual game, is people will be like, I had 330 points and you had 80, therefore I'm better than you. And I'm like, you're so stupid. Because your 330 points were like pointless points. Like you didn't do anything. All you did was ball chase the entire time. You whiffed most of the time. And then you got a tap-in goal. And I had that happen to me today. Somebody was like messaging me, telling me how he was better than me because he had more points than me. And I'm like, bro, I watched you whiff 9 times. Every goal that they scored was on you. And the goal that you scored was from them passing the ball in the middle and you being right there and just tapping it in.
And you got 200 points from first touches because you let them score 20 times.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So I always get frustrated with that because I'm like, you can't explain it to them. It's like you can't type it in and be like, hey, buddy, I know you have more points than me, but let me break it down to you why you suck. They don't, A, care, and B, they're not going to understand. So it's frustrating. Plus, it's my perspective. I mean, I know I'm smart, and I say that so humbly. But I also realize that I can be biased at times. So that's why I'm like, okay.
Biased towards yourself.
Yeah, I can sometimes. Sometimes. With my looks and Rocket League skills, I can be biased at times.
Yeah. That's fair.
So I've been playing Rocket League. as far as other
that,
games,
that's been an impressive run. 4 years.
yeah.
I'm not necessarily like if they announced Rocket League 2, would of course be first in line to get it. But on the other hand, I'm just curious.
I don't think they ever will.
What
They
would they?
just
Yeah,
add on to the
what would they
game.
do? They just put out this new version, for the summertime, and it's all very 80s and very much in sync with what you see with the Stranger Things show and things like that. Everyone loves the kind of the neon 80s vibe of games and TV shows right now. So that totally works. It's got kind of this 80s beach vibe, and they keep adding content, and people keep spending money on it. I've been tempted a few times to buy certain cars or keys for those chests and things like that.
I've been doing and Jesse White was actually the one that got me to do it. I've done it twice now. I buy the, you pay $10 and you get like the season pass or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's all the shooters do it too, COD and Apex and all them. But basically, the more you play, the more experience you get, and then you unlock items. And so I always make sure I play enough Rocket League that I unlock everything. Like right now,
well, if you don't pay, you get like the bottom tier, which is like 1/5 maybe of the items, and they're not nearly as cool. But they still give you something, but it's just not as good.
Yeah, so you got your free tier, and then I pay for the premium tier.
I think it's pretty smart, man. They make it worth your while to be just a free player. Like I don't think I've spent money on that game at all. Unless I might have bought a few DLC like car packs, but I haven't bought any of their aesthetic stuff outside of that.
No, I haven't. Except for the $10 passes. But I also do that.
But I also don't feel like they're forcing it down my throat. It's all optional stuff. It's kind of fun to unlock, but for the most part, you jump in there and play every game mode you want and play online all you want. So I love it. Speaking of online games, I just recently started giving Dauntless a try. I don't know if you've tried this one yet.
Yeah, I tried it.
So Dauntless is kind of your MMO Monster Hunter, basically, is what it is. The visual style reminds me a little bit of that really popular cartoony style for most games now, whether it's Fortnite or all the other battle royale type games. They kind of like this cel-shaded, sort of cel-shaded, cartoony vibe. And I think that can be a smart way to go. It can give you more leverage on how much can happen on screen at once, not to try to go ultra realistic. And it can still look good. I think Dauntless is a decent looking game. It's fine. Mm-hmm. I'm playing it on the Xbox One X, and I got to tell you, it's not running incredibly smoothly for me. So I don't know if that's my connection or the game just doesn't run that great. Maybe it's just right now it's running slowly over the past week or so. So it's not running great, especially when you get into the thick of a battle with other players. But all that being said, pretty fun game, and it is free. And just like we were talking about with how you can spend more money to get more aesthetic stuff and more emotes and all that, very Fortnite-esque if you're into Fortnite or understand how their system works. You can play the base game for free. You can get a lot out of it. But if you really want your character to look way cooler and to really invest in the game, then you totally can. And you can easily spend dozens, if not hundreds of dollars on that thing. But Dauntless is pretty cool. If you like Monster Hunter, or even if you're just a general MMO fan, I suggest giving it a shot. I've been able to do some stuff solo. It match makes you for most of the stuff you want to run, though. So not bad. It's not a bad game. I like it. It's not great, but it's not bad either. So,
all right.
So I've been playing that one a little bit. You mentioned online, so that one came to mind. So there's two kind of large-scale games I've been playing since last we chatted. That's one of them. Don't know if I'll keep playing it a ton because there's a lot of stuff heading our way in July. But I also fired up a new game of Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah.
So
I was going to ask you if you continue that or if you quit.
I have continued that a little bit. I don't plan on quitting. But there's lots of other little games in between I'm playing. I got to be honest, with my kids being home all summer, they're hogging my video games way more than I'm used to. So I've been having to kind of work around them. And now that two of my boys were at camp for a week, but now that everyone's back home, I was back to just relegated to using my laptop, basically, which does not play games. So I just use it to watch. I was catching up on Stranger Things this weekend. But anyway, Dragon Age Inquisition looks pretty good on the Xbox One X. Maybe not amazing. This game, keep in mind, is also about 4 or 5 years old, so it's not brand new either. But visually, overall, it holds up pretty well. The dialogue is great. If you're a BioWare fan at all, you know what? Forget the BioWare thing. Let's pretend you don't know anything about BioWare. If you like video games that have really good dialogue and give you the options of what to say, how to respond, do I want to be an angry jerk? Do I want to be kind to everybody? Do I want to be analytical? Do I want to be funny? They give you that ability to kind of craft what kind of character you want. So I really dig it. It's exactly what I expected. The combat is more fun than I remember it being, which is cool. I kind of took your advice in that sometimes I'll hop out and go to that pause screen and give everyone instructions, but for the most part, I just control my one main character and give them the hotkeys, like, hey, attack who I'm attacking or whatever.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they are pretty smart. They know when to heal, they know when to fight, all that kind of stuff. So I'm having fun with it. I haven't played it in about 4 or 5 days now, just
You're
because.
playing that on the Xbox?
Xbox One X. Yep.
See, I wish they would patch that game.
Yeah, so like I said, it looks good, but not amazing. I can tell it has not been upgraded. But yeah, it looks good, and I do enjoy. I know there's a few of you out there who that's one of your favorite games of the generation, so totally see why. That game is insanely deep as well. I can tell that I'm just barely scratching the surface, maybe 2-3 hours in, and I feel like I'm.
Story plays out really good, especially when you play the DLC. It finishes like the DLC, like it has an ending that's good in the main campaign, but they actually end it in the DLC, and it's really good. But like, I think what I like the most is your decisions matter, and the crew you have, the characters you have, especially if you fall in love with a few of them. You really grow to like them because like they will talk to you the whole time, and they're funny. Some of them are funny, some of them are annoying, but not annoying in like, oh my god, you're acted terrible, but just like annoying in how they pester people or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a really good game. It's one of those
if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, sounds like some nerdy RPG. It actually has a good amount of action, like direct control over your character in it. Although you can treat it like an RPG where you're controlling every character and jumping around, and you can pause the battle and evaluate things. Sometimes you're probably going to have to do that with certain enemies and groups of enemies, but for the most part, you can treat it more like an action RPG and just jump in there and start swinging away. And it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And I started a second playthrough on PC, and I got probably about 7-8 hours in and then shut it down. But it's definitely one
They've created a really cool world there. The different kind of races or whatever species you can choose between are really interesting, and I can tell there's different storylines for each. So it's just they've done a really good job with that game, with that whole series, and so I am excited to continue through that one. That'll be a nice one. I'm assuming that's going to be like throughout 2019. I'll play that one in little waves in between games and stuff like that.
And the thing is, you can do that with a game because even though you're like, oh man, like especially like The Witcher, sometimes when I come back, I'm like, what are the controls and stuff like that. But with Dragon Age, I remember I played like when it came out, I played it for like 20 or 30 hours, and then I walked away from it for like 6 or 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back and, probably had to look up a few things, but overall I was like, it's not that hard.
It's not overly complicated. Don't get me wrong.
It's like Diablo, but
there's lots of customization you can do. There's lots of cool things you can do, but the actual moments of combat aren't overly complex, which is nice. So it's not a Souls type game. Although every other game wants to be that these days. It's interesting you talk about the Xbox because I also, right around E3 time, I saw that they were, they talked about Game Pass Ultimate, where now it's available on your PC as well. And they've got all these additional things they're throwing on the Game Pass.
I have that,
So upgrade to Ultimate for $1. And so I saw that and I was like, I don't know. I was about to cancel Game Pass until Gears 5 came out. I was going to cancel it for the summer, save myself a little money. So I went to cancel it. And then I think it was Dan Phillips and a few others in the group pointed out, hey, you might want to check and see if you can still get this deal. If you pay for the upgrade to Ultimate, they will actually give you Game Pass Ultimate all the way till the end of your gold subscription for that price. And you don't have to pay again until your gold subscription's up. Then you start paying the regular price. So I tried it. I re-upped my gold subscription for the full 12 months, upgraded to Game Pass Ultimate for $1. And I now have Game Pass Ultimate and Gold, and don't have to pay anything else until spring of beginning of summer 2020.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really good deal. So I'll have access to all the Xbox stuff that's coming. And believe me, they're adding a ton of stuff launch day as well, which is really intriguing. But yeah, one of the reasons I bring that up is because I tried out Outer Wilds. So I got this one confused with Outer Worlds. For a second, I was like, wait, I thought this was October. Is this a demo? But no, there's two games. One's The Outer Wilds. One is The Outer Worlds. The Outer Worlds is Obsidian. That's kind of that crazy Borderlands-esque type game. I don't know if it's going to be like Borderlands or not. Don't misquote me on that. But it looks like that. And then Outer Wilds is this very kind of peaceful, quiet, slow-moving alien game. So I tried it, and I'm going to say this, and this is the kind of thing that annoys Derek. I totally see the charm of this game. It's very indie-like and very chit-chat and quiet, and these aliens have lots of conversations, and they want to talk to you a lot. But I also see how this game could put anyone to sleep. And the reason why is because I tried this game late at night, and I absolutely fell asleep. So, like, I fell into a deep sleep, and my Xbox went into rest mode when it realized I was done playing. So it's an interesting game. It's fine. I got off my planet and started flying around a little bit, and I realized I don't think this is the game for me. I think I've had my taste of planetary exploration with No Man's Sky. This is a little different. It's a little unique, but not really for me. There wasn't really one aspect of it that I enjoyed that much. But if you've got Game Pass, I recommend downloading it, giving it a try. I've heard that the way the story wraps up is actually really intriguing, that the way it finishes has a great ending. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've read that. But I don't think I'll play it anymore. I've tried a few of these space games that want to kind of dip into a little bit of that No Man's Sky territory where it's all about exploring. So I tried this game, what's it called? Astroneer. Yeah, Astroneer, because you're astronaut engineer mixed together. It's very much a resource collection, management, and upgrading and building your own, moon-based kind of game. Then you can, of course, upgrade your ship to be able to launch into space. I haven't gotten that deep into it. My kids thought it was cool. The main mechanic is that you've got this terraforming gizmo that can either take away from or add to the Earth around you. So you can either build, ramps or hills, or you can dig down into a crater and mine a whole bunch of soil or gems or rocks out that you can use to craft stuff. It's very much what you would expect from a game that requires a lot of crafting. You've got inventory management, then you have to create a certain device that will help you create a certain resource that you can use to now upgrade a thing. So it's very much like that. The mechanic that's kind of interesting is that you have to be connected. Your oxygen tank can run out, and you have to be connected to these tethers at all times. So as you're exploring, you can slap these tethers down into the ground as you go, which allow you to keep breathing without using up your oxygen tank, because it feeds back to your main ship. And what that actually does for you is it keeps track of where you've been. It's a creative way to say, hey, you're in space, you need oxygen, but also you can kind of backtrack much easier. So it's interesting. It was free as well. So I'm in that, I think I'm in that, just like with sports, I'm in that summer mode where I'm kind of open to trying a few different things because they're free. Really don't have a lot of plans to finish games like that, though. So stuff like Dragon Age Inquisition, I feel like I'm going to commit to, and I really like that game a lot. Stuff like Dauntless and Astroneer and The Outer Wilds, I'm like, let me give this a try with no real expectation of playing it for longer than a couple rounds, maybe, So
that's kind of what I've been trying to do is, like, since we last talked, which I guess has been, like, over 3 weeks, I've been trying to find – the last game I finished was Resident Evil 2, and I did finish it after we talked. Like, I finished it earlier this year, but I finished my second playthrough this time on the Xbox One X, which, by the way, looks amazing on the Xbox One X with HDR and everything. But I finished that, and then after I finished that, I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do? And I jumped into Red Dead Redemption 2, which I'm in chapter 5. Or what's the last chapter? 6?
Of Red Dead? I don't remember the number of chapters. 7, maybe?
There's 6 chapters and then 2 prologues. Whatever the last chapter is what I'm in. But I
want to say there's 7, but there might be 6. But yes, you are towards the end of that game. How are you feeling about it? Are you feeling like?
Well, that's the thing. Like I'm not even like I was kind of hoping I would get hooked to it again because I did get hooked for a little bit. I played probably about 10 to 20 hours a couple months back. Like I just kept going to it and playing. I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually finish it. Now I'm kind of back into that where I haven't booted it up in a couple weeks because every time I boot it up, I play like maybe a mission, maybe don't finish a mission, and then I turn it off. I'm in that one of those moods. So I jumped out.
I think you got past the chapter then where, without spoiling it, you're in a very different setting.
Yeah, I got past that.
Okay, what did you think about the way they did that?
The whole Uncharted feeling.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. I felt like Uncharted, just a really slow version of Uncharted.
Yes, but with a lot less climbing, to its credit, right?
That's good. Yeah. But yeah, I do like the game. Like my appreciation for Red Dead, I already had respect for it. I never disrespected Red Dead. But I was just like, it's just not for me, especially with what I was going through last year. I was like, this is definitely not the game I give a crap about. It talks too much. It's slow.
Did you get used to the pacing of it and used to how to run a little faster and just kind of adjust
Once
that?
I got used to the pacing and the systems and all that stuff, and started coming down to where I can play games a little bit more. Like, I still game. Everybody knows I'm gaming because anytime I talk on the show, I usually talk about something I'm playing. But for the most part, I've been getting hooked on games like Rocket League and Destiny 2 and stuff like that where there's no thinking.
Yeah.
So I don't like voice acting and story and all that stuff, which is crazy because I used to love that. And now I'm like, no, just shut up. I don't want to think. I don't want to die. I don't want to try. I just want to shoot crap or play Rocket League.
I think it's the stuff, what I've picked up on with you, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like it's the stuff that's trying to be really serious, very cinematic, that's just not doing it for you when it comes to games. But when it's a little more silly and who cares, it doesn't bother you quite as much. So I wonder, like, for example, as Borderlands 3 gets ready to drop, it's never taken itself too seriously. There might be some serious moments, but I feel like that, whatever they do with dialogue, as long as they don't overdo it, I feel like that probably won't bother you too much. But then when something like, looks like Gears 5 is going to try to be really serious and grounded and gritty, that might annoy you again. You know what I mean? I'm just kind of wondering how you'll handle those games.
We'll see, because I actually jumped back into Gears of War 4. That was one of them I was going to talk about.
Go ahead.
But I don't think you're wrong, because I did beat Borderlands. Yeah, I beat Borderlands Game of the Year edition, and then I finished off Borderlands 2 for my second playthrough right after that. So Borderlands...
That didn't annoy you, right? All the crazy talk. Because the other thing is they're talking while you're doing stuff.
Yeah. I never felt like they were like, okay, let's talk for an hour and a half.
You know what?
Again,
other games make you stop and watch, and they don't let you do anything and stuff. And sometimes Rockstar is like, all right, why don't you ride in this carriage or on horseback, and we'll talk while you ride. But even that can be a very long and boring ride. But with stuff like Borderlands, you can keep on fighting even if you want, and the radio chatter will continue.
Yeah, which is what I appreciate.
Yeah.
And the thing is even like with, I'll go to Gears of War 4 since we're talking about stuff we've been playing. I went back to it. I was in the end of chapter 3, and there's only 5 chapters. So I was like, okay, I really want to finish a game. That was more what this was about. I was like, I'd like to accomplish finishing something. Obviously, I want to have fun with it. If it's not fun, I'll stop. And I was like, I always have fun with Gears of War, and I recently played the trilogy again, I think in late 2017 or whatever. And so I was like, why don't you finish your second playthrough of Gears of War 4? And I've gotten through all of Act 4 and a couple of chapters in Act 5, and even that game. So I think I'm kind of like, you're catching me at probably a bad time. I'm in like a little bit of a rut gaming-wise, because I was just like, no, I just only want to play this. And to speed things up, I then jumped into Crackdown 3 because they updated it, and I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, I saw your post that you're going to jump back in. How'd that go?
And then I died a couple times, like, no, I'm not going to play this game. And so I'll tell you the games that I have been enjoying besides Rocket League. I just jumped into the Division 2 and actually leveled up twice, so I'm level 13. Nice. So I jumped back into that. It's crazy. I don't understand this, and this is, again, not me being weird. My dad has the same TV as mine. His is just bigger. It's the exact same TV. It's not a different version or a lower model or a higher model. Same model. Yeah. Just a bigger version of it. Right. His is 65, mine's 55. His TV, and I even went to my TV when we were separated. I went to my TV and I looked how I had it set up. And then I went back to his place and set his up that way. His TV does not look even close to how good mine looks. And the reason I bring this up is because I've been playing all these games on this TV, like God of War and the Division 2 and all this stuff. And it's not that they were ugly. My biggest complaint is like they're not crisp. I can see the little grids and all this stuff, and it's kind of blurred a little bit. Like it just doesn't look 4K. And I'm like, it's fake 4K, fake 4K. And now I'm playing on my TV, as far as I know, they haven't updated any of these games. And every single game I've jumped in, and I did jump back into God of War just to look at it. I'm like, my TV looks 20 times better than my dad's.
Yeah, I wonder what that is. Like, it could be a combination of like settings, lighting, the size of the screen means that.
I think his is messed up, but he doesn't care. It was
could
my
be
mom
any of those
who
things.
bought it.
So to summarize for folks who skipped that, here's what Derek just said. He saw his dad's, and even though it's bigger, his still looks better.
Yeah. Skip. Hey, guys, if you didn't want to hear about my TV and the size of it, you can skip like 45 seconds ahead now.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
But if you skip 45 seconds ahead right now, you're missing what I'm saying right now.
That's true. Yeah. This is getting confusing.
We're in the Matrix.
Yeah,
but anyway, so I jumped back to Division 2. It looks great. It plays great. I
like that game a lot. That was a fun game.
I don't know if I'll beat it, but I just jump back into it. And then
okay, here's the thing. Let me ask you this: a game like Division 2, and I guess Destiny 2 would fall into this category too.
Yeah.
Would you consider it you've beaten the game when you finish the main
story?
The main story. But what if the story continues? Like in Destiny 2, you could argue that with all these different DLC packs and everything else, the story doesn't really end. So with Division 2, their end game, to their credit, actually feels like the story hasn't really ended because you beat the main thing you're trying to beat, and then all the stuff goes down, and then the whole map gets kind of retaken over, and now you have to do a bunch of stuff again. It's a little bit different. So, but I still think that I beat the Division 2 because I got to that point.
That's how I look at it.
I played 2 or 3 hours into the new sets of missions, and I felt like I was retreading a few pieces again, but I did like looting really powerful stuff. Like the gear just kind of goes through the roof at that point, so it's a lot of fun. The loot becomes even more satisfying to collect. But at that point, I kind of felt like, yeah, I finished this game. I'm good.
Well, to answer your question, and I'll answer it 2 ways. A, the Division 2 and Destiny, all of them are, and you know this, so I'm not like educating you on it. They're designed to do that, meaning they're like, hey, we can't ever stop the story because if we stop the story, then we're telling you to go away. That's what we're not. We're a service. We're not a game. We're a service. We want you to keep playing forever. So they're designed that way. So yes, I do think, to answer your question, once you get past their main storyline that doesn't include any DLC or in-game, like, let's just redo this over and over just a little differently, you've completed the campaign. Like, that's how I put it. Like, whenever I do my spreadsheet, I'm like, completed the campaign. Did I beat the game? No, the game keeps going. That's
I'll just mark it as, like, finished.
Yeah.
And then I'll get, and to me, that's like, this is good enough for me to have an opinion on it, whether or not it's good, bad, what would I score it? Even though I maybe didn't 100% it, I haven't 100% a game since, I don't know, since I had a job, I think. You know what I mean? Like,
and so that's what I was going to say, to add on to it, a game that isn't designed that way. So this is a game that's not designed like Destiny 2 or Division 2, but you could say you beat it, even though I just told you, we're going to bring it up, it's Dragon Age Inquisition. I just told you, if you play a certain DLC, it continues the story and it gives you a better, more fulfilling ending. But
that doesn't mean
let's say you never play the DLC, but you just play the game. That was still the game they designed. That was still the story that they designed originally. And
same with Witcher 3. Blood and Wine, I highly recommend as a great way to wrap up the entire Witcher 3 saga. It's really, really good. But if you just beat The Witcher 3, you get it. That's the ending, and so I'm with you there.
That's how I do it. It's same thing with like Mortal Kombat 11. I played the story mode. I say I beat the story mode. But did I beat the game? No, there's like 5 different things that you can do that you can continue to do that you can beat, like all those towers and stuff like that. Yep. Those are part of the game that you could say, well, I beat every tower. Okay, but I'm talking campaign stuff.
Right. Well, and then games like Shadow of War, they never let the game end. Even if the story part's over, it's all about controlling territory, and then like the new Orc Lords will rise up and they'll take over one of yours. And
my only problem with the games as a service outlook, look, I don't have a problem with them in general because most of them I like, but I don't want to see where single player games that just have a focused story go away. Even though I just said I don't care about stories anymore, I still want to see them made, and at some point I'll get back into them. And I still play like Uncharted 4 and stuff like that. Those are single player story focused experiences, and I still like those. I don't want to see games get completely away from it. I don't think we will, but I do know that a lot of these companies like Square Enix and stuff like that, they are going, well, we want our games to be a service. And that's why, and I'm not going to get in this debate again because Daniel Freitas gets all fired up, the whole Final Fantasy VII thing. I still think the main reason they're breaking it up is because they're like, hey, if we wait to make this entire game the way we see it and how we want to make it, A, it's going to cost a ton of money, and we're not going to get it back until 5-6 years. And B, it's going to take 5-6 years, maybe even longer, to make this game.
Yeah, but if they took those teams off of those stupid mobile games and other things like that, like stuff that no one wants.
Money. It's all about money. It's a business. They only care about that. So,
absolutely. Not
and that was what I was going to say. The whole
Seven's going to sell
apart,
really well, let's be honest.
And them breaking it apart could actually end up being a good thing.
Yeah, maybe.
And they are going to make more money off of it too. So it is becoming a Square. Is the reason I brought them up is I think they were the ones that came out and said, we want to make everything a service. Like, we want to make all our games a service.
Yeah.
And that's what they're talking about. That's scary for most RPGs. I'm fine with you doing it like Final Fantasy VII because you're blowing it up and making it bigger. Or are you going to do this with every one of your RPGs? Then
what's Final Fantasy 16 going to be all about? You know, makes you start to wonder. Well, speaking of games that never end, I tried Civilization 6, went on sale on the Switch. Yeah. So I bought that one and gave it a whirl. It's really fun, really great turn-based city building strategy. It runs really well. It's fun to play. So if you like strategy and sim games, I highly recommend Civilization 6. If you can get it on sale, grab it on the Switch. Otherwise, go get it on PC. It's probably going to be the best control scheme. Although Civ 6, unless I'm totally misremembering this, you can control with the touchscreen. But mouse is always the way to go with games like that. But Civ 6, they did a really smart job of allowing it to be played really well in a lot of fun ways on the Switch. So really enjoyed that one. But yeah, that doesn't really have an ending to it either. That's just a game that if you like the gameplay, play it forever. I also started playing My Friend Pedro. I couldn't resist that one.
Bought it. I haven't even played it yet.
That style just looked so weird and unique. You looked like this motorcycle rider who is running around doing flips and shooting guys in slow-mo. And you know what? That's exactly what it is. So it's got this real... So it's a side-scrolling game for the most part. There's some depth to the field, and then there's a few stages where you're not on foot anymore. You're in vehicles, but for the most part, you're on foot. And yes, enemies use cover, and you can kind of use some cover too. But that's not what it's about. It's all about as soon as you jump into an area, you activate your slow-mo, which they're very generous even right at the beginning with your slow-mo meter. You have a lot of time to shoot an enemy for a while, and then there's a way that you can aim at one enemy and then use the control stick to aim the other gun a different direction if you're dual wielding, which you should pretty much always be. And it can really make you feel awesome. You jump into a room with 8 guys, you jump right in the middle, and you're just in slow-mo shooting both directions as you're kind of doing a backflip. And it's real silly and crazy and wacky, but I think it's fun. I think they got a really cool game on their hands there. The difficulty does start to build up there as you work your way through the game, but it's really fun. I recommend it if you like crazy, wacky, if you like lots of bullets flying and slow-mo and kind of a nonsensical story that who cares about the story? It's a game where your best friend is a floating banana who talks to you. So who cares?
It's a game I'm actually excited to. I just haven't been on my PC.
Gotcha.
So I haven't played it. That's where I bought it and buy it on the Switch. So I never play the Switch, to be honest with you. The only time I'm going to play it is when Fire Emblem comes out. We already established the most I'll do is 4 hours, and I'll probably will just, like my brother said, just leave it on the main menu screen for 4 hours, check the time, like, hey, I hit 4 hours.
And 4 hours. Yep. Which is crazy because if that story that we were all commenting on that you're talking about was true, so there's 3 houses, and the story read that it takes 80 hours to do one run through of one house.
It's going to take 80 hours.
To me, that sounds like you've pretty much 100%ed that experience, and then you can do a different house. But maybe who knows? Who knows?
I will say, because I was trying to tell you what games have kind of hooked me, and I think this is an interesting one to talk about. Is Judgment. Now that's the
Yakuza guys, right?
Yeah. So this is the guys who make the Yakuza franchise, and one of the reasons why I was willing to buy this one day one. I don't buy the Yakuza games day one anymore because I'm so far behind on the story. I'm like, if I buy it day one, by the time I catch up, and I know people could be like, well, just YouTube everything. I'm like, no, I own them all. I'd like to experience them. But I'm so far behind that I don't even start them. I'm like, forget it. I'm too far behind. I can't do this. Judgment, I was like, okay, this is starting from scratch. So I'm not behind with Judgment. It is in the same universe, and you can definitely tell when you boot it up, you're like, this is where every Yakuza game takes place. But it's very interesting. Now, I will say this game, I am not far into it, but I'm not fast forwarding through the cutscenes. I'm actually reading and listening because this is basically a murder mystery. So it kind of has not a completely like a Heavy Rain vibe, as far as like it's not as serious as Heavy Rain, but it is going for that. Like, that is your job. Your job is, you used to be, I think, an attorney, and you were really good. And then, I'm not going to spoil it, but you did something good at the time, but it ended up backfiring on you, and you ended up losing your career, and now you became a detective. And so you just run the streets doing odd jobs, and right now what I'm in is the middle of like solving these murder mysteries. So there's mystery behind it, which is something I've always said that I like in games. So I'm very intrigued. I'm only a few hours into it because, again, not struggling to play anything that's, that uses your brain. But I am having fun. The combat is really good.
Is it like Yakuza, or is it different than Yakuza?
It's like Yakuza. It's a little bit crazier, I think, so far. But what I wanted to compliment on it, like really compliment it, is the main character's voice acting is really good. Like, really good. Like, I'm like, man, this feels AAA. The only thing that doesn't feel AAA is like the animations, but the actual voice acting and the script and all that seems pretty AAA.
Folks, the only reason he's saying this is because he did the voice acting for it, and he's complimenting himself right now. That's
Amen. Amen. And then they took selfies of me and made the character look like me, but then just did the.
Oh, don't do that! Don't do that! Oh, come on!
Don't worry. You only see it on YouTube. Nobody knows what I just did.
That's true. That's true.
Except Daniel Freitas. He's the only one who watches it on YouTube. It's like, damn it, Dirk, you racist. All right. So, anyways, that
sounds fun though. Judgment, and you're playing that where right now?
PS4.
Is that only?
It's only out on PS4. I think it'll come to PC later because all the Yakuza games come to PC. But it looks good on PS4. I'm playing on PS4 Pro. It looks good on my 4K TV. But yeah, it's definitely, I mean, you have access to it. I know you've got a ton of games, but it's something you should just at least boot up and go, okay, let me see if I like these Yakuza-style games.
Well, I'm kind of like you in that I've always been interested in Yakuza games, but I fell so far behind.
Too many of them.
And I don't want to just YouTube catch up on them. I was willing to do that for Kingdom Hearts games because I kind of got the idea of how those played. With Yakuza games, I kind of want to play those because I keep hearing so many good things. But this is a new storyline, so maybe I will.
Well, I was going to say, in the Yakuza games, the story is actually, while it can get crazy, is good. Like, if you want to experience them, yes, you could YouTube them. But, again, the way they've been launching the games, like they launched Yakuza 0, which is before all Yakuza games. And then they re-release Yakuza Kiwami, which is basically Yakuza 1. And then Yakuza Kiwami 2, which is Yakuza 2. And then I think I started the franchise on Yakuza 3. I think that's where I started on the PS3.
Okay.
So I have finished a Yakuza game. I finished Yakuza 3. And then I own them all. I own like 4, 5, 6, 0, 1, 2. I own them all. I only got through 3. And by the time I got through 3, I was like, I'm not starting 4 right now. That one wore me out because it took me a while to get through 3. And then that's when I started seeing 5, 6 come out. I was like,
yeah, it felt to me, as someone who doesn't follow the series, it felt like they all came out pretty rapid succession. But
well, definitely on the PS4 they have been. They've been pushing them out pretty fast.
Yeah.
But again, I think if you are interested in Yakuza, but you're like me and Tim, and you feel like overwhelmed, like, hey, I'm just interested in like playing one game, and I feel like I'm missing out if I was to just jump in 6. Like, I really want to play 6 because I hear how it's the end of his story and it's great. So it's like, well, why don't I just find out his whole story and then play 6?
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that, and this is my way of getting to play a Yakuza game, which they are fun to play. Like they're like the Streets of Rage type beat 'em ups, and it's super fun to play. And then to add on to it, if you watch any review, so this isn't just my opinion, I haven't obviously gotten through the entire game. You watch any review on Judgment, one of the things I have heard on every review, and I haven't watched every one of them, but a lot of them I watched. Every single one of them are like fantastic story, engaging story, fantastic. I was like, okay, I need to buy this, so I went ahead and bought it. So that's gonna probably be my main one. I think the next game I'll actually beat will be Gears of War 4, just because I'm at the end. But I think Judgment's gonna be my main summer game until July 26th. I'm hoping I'll really get into Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Yeah,
and then my kind of Rocket League, but not Rocket League game that I've actually been playing a lot of is NBA 2K19.
that was like $3 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And so I went ahead and bought it and on the PS4, and I am playing the story mode, and it's good. It's like all of them. You start out as this guy who had potential, but this one has you go to like China. So you start playing in China, and then once you do well in China, they move you to the States, but you're in like a D League or something like that. And that's what I just finished. I finished the D League, and then they give you options. Like you don't get drafted. They go, you can sign with this team, but if you sign with this team, you're looking at about 17 minutes a game. And this will be your salary, which salary matters because what they're talking about is the gold coins you earn that you can use to change the way you look or to actually make your character better. It's how you upgrade your character. So it does matter like how much you're getting per game, which I thought was cool. And so there was like 6 teams that wanted me, and you can negotiate. So let's say I picked, for instance, the Timberwolves. They wanted me, and they were offering me the most time. Well, I upped the time by 3 minutes. I was like, well, I don't want 17 minutes. I want at least 20 minutes a game. And so I upped it by 3 minutes, and I upped the salary. And they countered it and said, we'll do the 20 minutes, but we're going to drop your salary. I was like, okay, I'll drop the salary because in that 20 minutes I can do more things, and then I'll probably earn more.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
that makes me want to try that career mode. I did a little bit of a season. I did a couple of exhibition matches just to feel what it plays like. It plays pretty good. But yeah, that mode, that career mode sounds interesting.
What I like about sports now.
Yeah,
like I like the career modes where you get to.
I liked the Madden story mode from last year, and so it wasn't bad.
No, this is good. I've enjoyed it. It's probably outside of Rocket League. It's probably the game I'm playing the most. Like because I'm like, okay, this is fun, and I'm actually doing good. My characters are my players performing well. So
it's interesting. It's interesting with sports games. I think I go in little waves of being interested in them. Like even a golf game, if it's really good, I'll get into that for a little while or whatever. I remember back in the day, I loved Virtua Tennis on the Dreamcast and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not until they finally bring back NCAA football on some system somewhere, then I will truly be addicted again, and that's all I'll play.
That's the game. That one or college basketball are the 2 games that if I could, I would say I would probably. There was a question recently, like one of the groups, gaming groups, like if you could bring anything back, and I couldn't even think of anything, but NCAA football would probably be it.
Oh, without a doubt for me, yeah.
I thought Knights of the Old Republic at first, but then I was like, they would have to change the way it plays because if they brought Knights of the Old Republic back the way it is now, I'd be like, this is crap.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
I would actually prefer NCAA.
No, I would die if they brought back NCAA. I can't wait if that is in the works. I've heard all kinds of rumors and speculation about it. I don't know how they're going to do it with the players' likeness and all that stuff, but
it's going to be VR only.
Oh no! Hey, speaking of VR, I've got 2 quick VR games I want to just mention. One I hated and one I loved, and then same with the Switch. 2 games, one I hate and one I love. So let's do VR first. The one that I hate that everyone seems to love except for me is Blood and Truth.
I knew you were going to say that.
I don't like this game. It is not fun. So I finally got the Move controllers, so I can use my 2 different hands the way you're supposed to, and the shooting is fine, but the game is so janky. Like it oftentimes, and my setup is fine because the other game I'm going to talk about that I love is Beat Saber. It's a really fun, essentially lightsaber swinging rhythm game, and it's a lot of fun. My kids and I love slicing through these boxes in rhythm, and it gets really challenging. It's a blast. And we play Beat Saber, and I don't have any problems with the PlayStation Eye or the Move controllers being seen and read, and it's a perfect 1-for-1. Works great. With Blood and Truth, it gets messed up all the time, and my aiming goes all wonky, and I have to hold my hand almost sideways for it to read it properly, and I recalibrate all the time, and I make sure everything's set up and there's nothing blocking the view. And I have not enjoyed that game, and this is going to sound a little bit like Derek here, but they're so overly serious with their dialogue. I wish I could skip like these interrogation scenes that just happen, and it's just this long moments of him staring at you, wanting you to answer, and I'm like, and all you can do is kind of look around the room, and you can pick up pictures from the table and look at them and throw them back on the table. I really don't like it. So, yeah. And I went through several of the mission sequences or chapters, whatever they're called. I might finish it just so I can say that I beat it, but I'm also not that interested either. It's not, the story's not that great to me. I think the acting's fine. It's okay. It all feels like a lower B level movie, to be honest with you. So I don't know. People are like, "Oh, it's like James Bond that you control," and I'm like, "But it's not. It's not though. It doesn't feel like that at all." So I'm not loving that. Love Beat Saber though. Beat Saber is fantastic. If you've got any interest in music of any kind, or the idea of swinging what feel like lightsabers around sounds cool to you, if you see Beat Saber on sale, go grab it. It's really, really fun. It's a great. I think it's one of those games that shows off the VR and how fun it can be, and it doesn't make you sick, because when you're in kind of that Beat Saber room, you're sitting still and the thing is scrolling towards you. Think Guitar Hero, right? Your character sitting still, and then the things are scrolling towards you. So you don't feel dizzy. You don't start to feel, some VR games can really mess with your calibration, and you can start getting all dizzy or whatever. This doesn't do that. So love Beat Saber. It's a lot of fun, and boy, does that game get tough, but it's really, really fun. And then on the Switch, there's a game that I hate and a game that I love. And the one that I hate is another one that critics love, and I'm struggling to see why they love it so much. And I bought Crypt of the Necrodancer since it was on sale for like $3. Mm-hmm. And I bought it because I thought maybe I'll buy this new Cadence of Hyrule game, because it's a Zelda-themed Crypt of the Necrodancer follow-up. You can be Link, you can be Zelda. It's supposed to be really good. Everyone's loving it. So I thought, hey, that's $25. I don't know if I want to just throw $25 if I don't know if I like it. Let me buy the $3 version of the original and see if it's any good. I kind of hate it. So I don't know if you've tried it, but it's supposed to be also rhythm-based. But I'm not necessarily feeling the rhythm. Yeah? No? Maybe? You're not going to...
Like, okay, me being cheesy, we get it.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be the standard. Like, everybody... We need to talk about this. Everybody loves you. They're trying to kick me off the show. I'm fully aware, guys.
You're trying to kick yourself off the show. Let's be honest for a second.
I didn't kick myself off the show.
Derek doesn't want to quit. He wants me to fire him. That's what he wants to happen.
I'm waiting for. It's just like I never wanted a divorce. I just wanted her to do it for.
So I don't know. Maybe there's something that I know people are going to say with Crypt of the Necrodancer, because I've heard guys like Justin Davis, who I'm not a huge fan of, on GameScoop talk about it and say, once you get it, it's amazing, but you just have to push through till you get it. And I'm like, I feel like I get it. I get the movement. I see what the rhythm is. I understand what they're doing, and it's just not fun. So not really digging that game. But what I am digging, and is my current overall family favorite, everyone in the family is digging this game, is Super Mario Maker 2. So I went ahead and I used my Amazon Prime membership to get a Nintendo account. And once I had my Nintendo account set up, because I used to be on a family account with Dan Phillips. Thanks, Dan, for that. But I went ahead and used my Amazon Prime. Want to go ahead and use that to get the free Nintendo account. Once I've got that, then I went and bought the 2 vouchers for $100. So you get two vouchers for games, and for the most part, it's going to be your major Nintendo first party, or sometimes major second or third party releases. And I went ahead and bought Mario Maker 2, and I plan on using the second voucher on Fire Emblem as soon as that becomes available. And Mario Maker 2, keep in mind, I didn't play Mario Maker 1 because I didn't have a Wii U. We did get it on the 3DS, and it was okay, but pretty limited, not amazing. And so we got 2, and we are all so hooked on it. Not only did Nintendo put together this little mini story mode where they essentially have over 100 original Mario levels for you, incredibly creative. They built them all with the same builder they give you to build with, which is cool. So everything you see in those levels, you could figure out a way to take pieces from that and incorporate into your own levels. But also the levels that the community has already created are a blast. Like I've built a few myself and they're fun. And plus you can do co-op building, which is a lot of fun. You just hand the other Joy-Con to someone else in the room and you can both drag and drop on the screen. So that's a lot of fun. But my preference is to have it in handheld mode because you can fully use the touch screen to edit your level and as quickly as you want. Again, very drag and drop, grid based, works fantastic. Really love it. But yeah, if that's not your thing, you can play all the levels that Nintendo made. They're all very high quality, a lot of fun. And as you complete those levels, they pay you with coins that you use to then upgrade the castle that has been demolished at the beginning of the game. And so it's all just sorry. It's all very unnecessary. Like they could have just said, here's all the original levels, but they decided to give it a cute little Mario package that totally feels like a single player experience. And then they added this full online capability where you can comment on people's levels, you can give them likes, you can follow that maker if you like a person who makes a certain level and you want to see everything else that they make. And you can organize it you can tag it with things like, hey, this is meant for multiplayer, this is meant for speed runs, this is meant to be super challenging, this is meant to be really easy or whatever. You can give it all these different tags. And so everyone can really find the levels they prefer. Hey, I just like easygoing, fun, silly levels, or I like levels that are so challenging, and whatever it is in between. They give you a really good system to do that. So I'm very impressed with this game. It is 100% worth the $50 that I paid for it. And my sons really like it. My twins specifically have been making levels, and they like pretty much every morning since we bought this game, every summer morning, they've kicked off their day with about an hour and a half of building Mario levels together. They're laughing their heads off. They're trying it. Like it reminds me of when my brother and I were younger and we played video games together and it was all about that couch co-op experience. Now it's my two sons who are being super creative. They're building levels and they're having a blast together. So I really dig it. I highly recommend it if you have any interest in creating levels, but also if you just like playing Mario, you don't have to build anything and you can get hours and hours of really awesome. Really awesome Mario levels. I don't think they need to make a side-scrolling Mario game for a long time now because you've pretty much got everything you need right there. I mean, I'm sure they will, but they don't need to because everything you need is right there. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. It's probably my favorite game so far this year. Love it.
Really?
Probably. It's kind of weird though that now that I bring this up, because that's most of the stuff I've been playing recently. At least that's the stuff worth talking about. We are at the halfway point of the year, and I'm looking back at the first half of 2019. It has not been the most impressive year compared to 2017, especially 2018. I also thought was really great, but that's okay. It's fine. I don't expect every year to be totally amazing. But there are some good ones. I think back to Sekiro and Devil May Cry 5 and some stuff like that have been really good. But it's weird for me to compare. Like, I know this is going to happen when we talk Game of the Year stuff in about 6 months or less. But how do you compare Devil May Cry 5 with Super Mario Maker 2? Like, they have zero things in common outside of the fact that you have to push buttons to make things happen. So that's going to be a little weird because I love both those games. But if you were to ask me right now, which one do you like more? I don't know. Right now, I'm enjoying Mario Maker more because that's what I'm playing. I don't know. That's kind of a weird one. And I feel like that's going to happen the rest of this year. We've got Marvel coming out in a few weeks. Then we've got stuff like Fire Emblem, Astral Chains coming out. Don't forget, of course, Gears 5 and Borderlands 3, and the new Star Wars game is coming out. So some of these you can compare, and some of them there's no way to compare them. So it just depends. Oh, and of course, Zelda: Link's Awakening. That looks really awesome.
Actually, out of all the Switch games, I'm actually more excited about that one than even Fire Emblem.
What about Astral Chain? Because you like Platinum, right?
Not really.
Oh, all right. I think
it looks cool. I'll give it a shot if it reviews well. But yeah, and that one I will rely on either professional reviews or word of mouth.
By the way, I am feeling more and more confident on how it's going to play because they apparently built the game around the main gameplay hook concept of having the first idea was two mechs hooked together doing battle together as a team, and then it became a person and a mech-like unit fighting together. And they built they're like, okay, here's the mechanic we want to use, and we've already essentially built the combat system. Let's build a game around it. So then they filled in characters and story and all that kind of stuff. So that's the way Platinum should do it. So that gives me hope that this will just be an amazing combat experience. Who cares about story? It's probably going to be wacky and whatever, but it's probably going to be a blast for the combat, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and I will say that actually looks cool. Yeah, but I would say out of all the Switch games right now that have been announced and confirmed are coming this year, surprisingly, I thought I would say easily Fire Emblem, but I think it's Zelda. I just think it looks so cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about Zelda too. There's probably some stuff in October, whether it's Outer Worlds or there's a few others that have been announced that are escaping me at the moment. But there's probably a few others that are coming out in October, November that right now I'm not that high on, that when they arrive and I try them, I'll love. So there's probably others like that. But for the most part, I'm most excited about months like September between Gears, Borderlands 3, and the new Zelda, or the Zelda remake. That's going to be a good month. September looks pretty good. But anyway, all that to say, Super Mario Maker 2 has been the perfect summer game for us. I love it. I really do love it. And what's also cool is they've added in Mario 3D World. Now, you can't create an old school Mario Brothers level and then just click on the skin to switch to 3D World. It doesn't work that way. They don't share environments like that. So you can swap between Mario Bros, Mario 3, Super Mario World, or Mario U. Those are just similar to the past. Those are the 4 you can easily swap the skins between. And then there's a separate section that right now just has 3D World. I have a feeling they're going to add additional one-off environments. A lot of people want Mario 2 from Nintendo when you pick up the plants above your heads and all that kind of stuff, because that's a unique mechanic that doesn't belong anywhere else. So who knows? We might get more of that. I hope that they continue to support this game with DLC, but I'm having a real blast with it. And as someone who typically doesn't like to build, that's why I don't like Fortnite. It's too focused on knowing how to build and fight at the same time. Don't like it. Minecraft, not really my thing. I was never really into creating my own levels.
Yeah,
but I'm having fun building levels in Mario Maker too. So that should say something. As someone who doesn't usually like that, I'm actually really enjoying it. I think it's very creative, very silly, and
well, maybe I'll pick it up.
And I do like it. I really like it a lot. So, well, I think that just about does it. We're after midnight for Derek, and I think my wife wants to head to bed too. So that should do it for me too. But Derek, it's been good to finally catch up with you.
Yeah, it's been super.
And it's really good to talk women's soccer, especially.
Oh, yeah. I ranted about that, but I can't rant here because then I'll be labeled a sexist.
If there's one thing Derek loves, it's female athletes competing at the highest level.
Especially when I have to watch a commercial during the men's game about how women soccer, this is the U.S. team, this is by Nike, so they had already made this, they were ready to go, they were jumping on the bandwagon about how this is the greatest team in all of sports. And yes, Nike is talking about men's sports as well.
Okay.
Because that's what Nike does. Yeah. And then people immediately started crying out for equal pay.
Well, the equal pay thing trended on Twitter like right away.
Oh, of course.
It was hard for me not to laugh at that. Like, part of me gets it. I'm like, I see what you're saying. They've had more success. Yeah, I get it. But your paycheck is not necessarily a reflection of how many other teams you beat. It's how much revenue you bring in, sadly. But that's the way that it works.
Is that not how it works? Why is nobody bringing that up?
A few people do, but no one listens to them, and they call them sexist. So just a quick note before we wrap this up. I thought you'd find this interesting. There's actually a Forbes article. I forget the name of it. You'd have to Google it. But there's a Forbes article that talks about, are they underpaid? Basically, is asking that question. And it breaks it down really in depth. But here's the gist. In the most recent Men's World Cup, the money generated worldwide was $6 billion. $6 billion. And so each participating team, I think, got like somewhere in the realm of 400 million, which is crazy. They could really pay their players and coaches and personnel and all that stuff really well. This year's Women's World Cup, they're estimating it's going to bring in somewhere in the range of 130 million.
Thank you. That's all I needed to hear. That's what I was telling my family.
That's for all of it, for all the teams combined. So while it might not feel fair because, women just won 2 in a row. They've won more than any other team in the world. That's awesome. I think it's great that we finally are good at soccer. At least one of our genders is good at soccer. That's great. That doesn't mean they need to get paid more, because they're not making as much money. And that's not their fault. This isn't like, hey, women, you suck. You should make more money. That's what the market demands. They demand the highest level of competition. That's why the men's team struggles to hit that peak, because it's hard. It's tough.
I watch both women's and men's. I watch both. So I'm not sexist. And I have no problem saying it. I don't care if you call me sexist. Men athletes, and I'm not just saying because they're more physical, are better in all areas. I'm talking ball skills, passing, shooting, playing as a team, everything. What they're doing, the narrative they're trying to focus on is the women's team for the USA, they only want to talk about USA, is better than the men's team for the USA. That is factually correct as far as they have more success in their league, which is separate from the men's league.
Correct.
Yes, that's factually correct. But if those two teams were to play 3 times, I'm going to tell you right now, the men's team will beat them 3 times, and they will blow them out.
Not. I mean, I'm with you. Of course, that's true. Of course.
But my point is they're not the greatest team. They are getting paid what they earn, and they need to stop comparing it and acting like, well, because we're better than the U.S. men's. No, you're not better.
It shouldn't be a flat number. Like if they get $10, I should get $10. It should be more of their industry generates 100, and they each get 10. We generate 10. We should each get 1. The percentages should line up. So if the percentages are way out of whack, I could see that. That's
quality. That's equal pay, right there.
That'd be a good argument to say, hey, men get 7% share, and we only get a 3%. That's not right. And I'd be the first one to be like,
exactly.
I'd be the first one to say you're right. That isn't right. You should get the same percentage of the available funds. Absolutely, you should.
That's why this is what I was telling my wife.
Hey, maybe you even get more percentage of yours because you've had more success. So even if they said, hey, since you've won so many World Cups, we're going to bump yours up to 9%, and the men are going to stay at 7%, I'd still be like, you know what? They keep winning.
Because you're earning it.
They keep winning. Let's give them those raises. Let they keep winning. But it's not a flat number. It's a percentage.
Exactly. You can't do number. You can't say, well, okay, so the men are getting with their 7%, they're getting, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 100 million.
Yeah. Okay.
So then your team should get 150 million. And then FIFA's looking at him going, well, you didn't bring in 150 million. How am I going to pay you more than what you bring in? So that's where the narrative is. It's the dumbing down of America, and social media has helped do that because they'll just throw out something stupid that's not even relevant, and they'll ignore the stuff that's relevant. And then when somebody is bold enough to say, hey, here's the truth with numbers and facts, then they're a sexist.
It's true.
And that's what's stupid. And that's why I was telling my son, because he was making fun of me, Dad, you're a sexist. I said, son, where are the WNBA players crying out for equality? Oh, that's right. They don't make any money. That's why they're not crying out for it. Because they're smart enough to know we're not at the NBA's level.
Also, that professional men's soccer, just in the U.S., averages anywhere from 30 to 50,000 people per game. Mm-hmm. Women's, anywhere from 3 to 4,000 per game. Just
exactly, because they're excited because they're winning. Like right now, they can talk. That's why they do it now, is because they're everywhere. Nike's
I get it. That's why I'm saying I understand the sentiment. I just wish that people would pause and think of facts. But hey, that's not the age we live in, man. We live in an age of emotional response and sentiment. We don't live in an age of facts and logic and reasoning. Come on.
That's why our show is gonna bomb, because we bring the truth. But if we would just lie and pretend like we don't see things and just be like, oh, women deserve $150 million, bazillion dollars because they have boobs and they run.
With that, I do want to wrap up the show by saying we're changing the name of our show to Fathers of the Truth. So you're welcome, everybody.
We should get rid of fathers too, so we can add Daniel to the roster.
Oh, yes,
Daniel. I said
our show is now just called The Truth.
Could just be the truth. Yeah, but if Daniel's on the show, he'll lie, and then we can't be truth because he's a libtard.
It's just called The. I think we got it now. It's just The.
The three guys.
All right, we're done. We're out of here. See you guys next time.
All right, bye.
Who is your daddy?
I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?